discuss the equation of an altitude. And before we even start, I want to remind you that when we talk about the equation of a line, the equation of an altitude, the equation of a medium, what we keep in mind is the equation y equals mx plus b. Now, what does an altitude mean? An altitude is a very special line in a triangle. It connects the vertex of that triangle, in my example E, and it's perpendicular on the opposite side. So in this case, the altitude EH is perpendicular on the opposite side, or FG. So let's see, what are the necessary steps to find the equation of an altitude? If I am given a triangle ABC, so I have a triangle here, ABC, and we can sketch it, or you can use graph paper and graph it on the paper, and I'm going to label it A, B, and C. And please remember, I do like to rewrite the coordinates of those points next to the sketch, so it's visual and easy to be referenced. So B is 6 and 0, and A is 0 and 3. What does it mean to have an altitude from vertex C? As we mentioned in the definition, it connects vertex C with the opposite side and is perpendicular on the opposite side. So please draw a straight line down that falls perpendicular on AB, and we can label that point of intersection D. Now for this altitude, let's write what we know. So we already know a couple of things. Well, the first thing that we know is we know the vertex point. So we know the vertex point, C, with the coordinates 4 and 6. And we do know that the altitude is perpendicular on the opposite side, or on the side that it's intersecting. So we can write that CD is perpendicular on AB. Now, what does it mean for two lines to be perpendicular? We learned in linear systems, and in this, we recapped during this unit that perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes, which is a very important property, one that we're going to use over and over again in analytic geometry. So negative reciprocal slopes. So this is what we know. Now, in order to construct the equation of the line, so to find y equals mx plus b, I need one of two things. We either need 2 points, or we need the slope and 1 point. Now let's try and connect what we know for this application problem and what we need to find the equation of the line. Well, what I know is a point, so we know a point, and it can be using this one, and I only know one of the 2 points. But something else that's really important is that I know that the altitude is perpendicular on the base of the triangle. So once I find the slope of the triangle side, I can find the slope of the altitude, which means that option 2 is the one that I can use to find the equation of the altitude. So let's work through our steps. So step 1. First, we're going to find the slope of AB, okay, or the opposite side from the vertex. So the slope of AB we know is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And let's look at our sketch here. If A is the first point, then 0 is x1, 3 is y1. For B, 6 is x2, and 0 is y2. So let's substitute in my slope. y2 is 0 minus y1 is 3, x2 is 6, and x1 is 0. So it is negative 3 over 6, or if you reduce that fraction further, the slope of AB equals negative 1 over 2. But since CD is perpendicular on AB, the slope of CD will be the negative reciprocal of that. Now, negative something is positive, and the reciprocal of 1 over 2 is 2. And this represents the slope of the altitude. Step 2. Now that we've found the slope of the altitude and we know the vertex point that the altitude passes through, we can substitute vertex C and the slope of that altitude in the equation of a line in y equals mx plus b to find b. So y will be 6 equals the slope is 2 times x is 4 plus b. Let's identify them quickly just to make sure you remember. So 6 is the y, 2 is the slope, 4 is the x in that vertex point. So 4 is the x, 6 is the y. Please make sure that you keep track of your coordinates. Now we can isolate b, and 6 minus 8 is negative 2. Now that we found the slope of the altitude and the y-intercept, or the b of that equation of a line, I can write my therefore statement, and I can say that the equation of CD is y equals 2x minus 2. Now, please take a look at that second example that we have in your worksheet, and hopefully with the steps that are in front of you, you'll be able to replicate them and find the altitude requested of you in that example.